get time. What is this, 3050 Olive?
Yeah.
That's Brittany right here.
Aaron W. Banks, here we go.
He gets arrested.
That's the hand.
That looked like Aaron W. Banks.
Moved from one home, so then he pays.
First name, middle initial, last name. There you go. That's me.
But he pays that big price.
Okay, folks, good evening. We are at the Ferguson Commission number 3. There is an agenda from 5 to about 5:40. There's going to be like a meet and greet with the attendees, opening agenda review, and then they'll open it up for public mic at 5:40. There's still a lot of people filing in because of the work situation. They decided to time everything to where it began at 5. There's a lot of rush hour. I know that when I got here earlier, we were already out of parking. So we'll see. The Ferguson Commission this time is being held pretty far away from Ferguson. So I'm going to just, because I want to make sure that I get it up and that we're live and that you guys are able to watch. I'm not scrambling to put up the stream. So I'm just going to leave it roll. Hopefully we'll start soon. It doesn't look like it looks like they may be getting ready to start. So anyway, so we'll just leave the stream running, and I will try and give a text out when we get closer to beginning, and we'll go from there. All right. Thanks for joining us. Anyway, if you're just joining us, we're waiting for Ferguson Commission number 3 to start. It was supposed to start at 5, but it's on rush hour. We'll be live broadcasting during the entire meeting. And thank you guys for joining me. You can follow me on Twitter at StackIsShort, and please follow me on Ustream so you get updates about when I go live. And we'll go from there. All right, talk to you soon.
No, I'm sure.
Well, the parking lot.
So you can see we have a pretty packed house this evening. There wasn't a lot of parking, and we're about 20-25 minutes away from Ferguson. If we're in rush hour traffic like we are now, we're about it could be an hour. Not really sure why the commission starts at 5. It's not enough to get done with everything and to get into rush hour traffic. Hopefully we're not going to have too many problems hearing tonight, but if we do, we do. So we're just waiting for the commission to start. If you guys want to amplify that I'm streaming the commission, that would be great. I'll try and send out a tweet from here when it gets ready to start, and we'll go from there. Am I going to be good here?
Oh, yeah, you're good.
Yes. Yeah. That was amazing.
It's actually not long enough to be long speeds. City, and then everything might happen out of it. That's when you have the action.
While we are waiting, I will read to you or I won't read to you because they're scrolling through them. So the commission's guiding principles. Okay, they just switched the screen again. The commission meeting ground rules are to maintain an I think they're like on a. Okay, maintain an open mind, respect all views and opinions, ask questions, share insights, and share airtime. The guiding principles are transparency, equity and fairness, sustainable actions and accountability. I'll finish that when it grows back. Civic engagement, diversity and inclusion, and integrity.
It's quirky as hell. It's so strange.
What is there any?
There's Slew Wi-Fi if you have Slew account.
Yeah, I don't.
You need-
Why do you need Wi-Fi?
What do you need?
It'd be nice to upload, that's all.
Oh.
Look for Slew guest. There might be a Slew guest as well.
And so I'm pulling over, and he keeps pulling over with me. And I'm like, sorry, I'm trying to get out of your
Yes,
way.
you're right.
So I'm like, wait a minute, is he pulling me over? So I was going the same speed as everybody else. When you look at the intent of the law, if everyone's going 70 and you're going 70,
So the list of topics that will be discussed, they handed me an agenda. But the, first of all, can you guys hear me okay? Mic check, mic check.
and so, I mean, like, that's the thing, is like, you know, you can't prove it, you know, but at the end, you have to talk about the intent of the law. Why do you not, you know, and so, my dad was like, you should have just told him, blah, blah. So, I don't want to say, it's everybody else. And it's like, doesn't matter, it was supposed to 7 times, and I'm like, all right. So then he was like, and, so I'm arguing with him, and he goes, and you didn't use a printer. And I said, it's still on. He's like, it's still on. And he was like, well, I didn't see it.
Where's Thomas?
So it looks like the topics for tonight are going to be the civic courts, the different municipalities in the civic court system. Okay, great. So we've got a little bit of a lag on here, probably about 60 seconds. But the municipal court system and government organization, that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So again, we'll be talking about the municipal courts and the government organization for all these small munis. I'm assuming also Ferguson. And we're going to have some presentations or hear some presentations about, I guess, what it looks like to me is, from what I can see from this like agenda that's printed on horrible paper, I think we're going to see how, like, talk about the government structure and how that affects people who like get pulled over, how they fine, all of that type of stuff. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. It'll be interesting to see. And we'll go from there. Are you streaming or are you streaming? Okay. So Dreadhead is also streaming tonight.
It's like diners, so
Alright guys, I'm probably going to put the chat down as things get started here. I'll periodically check it. I don't like to have it up when I'm streaming too much because it pulls up all the bandwidth, slows us down a bit. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Alright guys, looks like we're getting ready to roll, so I'm going to put this down and hopefully we'll be able to get some of the discussion in.
Stack, when you're not take me, I was gonna say, could you take a shot of the 4 of us here? You know, just it's on auto focus more or less, so you just have to point and shoot. Hey guys, right now. Just take a couple.
I am.
Good.
Sure.
Solid. Thank you. Here, do you remember? Thank you.
always like,
that's an art piece on it.
yeah. That was really cool.
Whatever mood somebody's in.
Yeah.
Because it's in there.
I'm going to mute for just a second, guys. I had a friend that just walked in. There's nothing going on, nothing sinister, but cue the trolls. I'm going to mute for just a second so I can say hi to somebody and I'm not chattering in your ear. Alright, sorry about that, guys. Just wanted to say hi without chattering in your ear. Again, thank you for joining us. If you're just joining us, this is the Ferguson Commission number 3. Tonight's topics and presentations will include the municipal court system and the municipal government organization. So how the government is organized. We're going to have presentations from several law schools, from the Arch City Defenders, who are defending a lot of the demonstrators for free. They also represent poor and indigent people that can't afford legal counsel with a lot of municipal and traffic fines. So they're probably, I would expect, going to talk about how the fines and the traffic and all of those types of things and the warrants and the failure to appears affect the community. So, and begin to criminalize young black men and women. So I expect that's what we're going to hear about tonight. If you haven't followed me on Ustream, take the time to do that because you'll get email notifications when I go live. You can also follow me on Twitter if you don't, at Stack, S-T-A-C-K-I-Z, short, S-H-O-R-T. Also in my Twitter bio, if you feel so inclined, is a link to donate. I also started a t-shirt campaign today, and that can be found somewhere in my Twitter timeline. Dreadhead is also here streaming with me. So we're just going to keep the tape rolling, and as soon as the commission gets started, I'll start tuning into the action. Feel free to live tweet from the stream and amplify. We got a lot of people all over the country scattered right now, and our normal amplifiers are tied up in Oakland. So any amplification that you are willing to provide as viewers tonight is going to be helpful.
Good evening, everyone. If you would, go ahead and find your places. We will go ahead and begin our meeting on this evening. My name is Starsky Wilson. I'm absolutely pleased that you have come and invested a part of your day to be a part of this very important community conversation. If you would find your seat, we're going to begin with some welcoming comments as well as an invocation. So we invite you to settle yourselves so we have as much time as possible for the community engagement required in this meeting. But again, my name is Starsky Wilson. On behalf of my co-chair, Rich McClure, and the commissioners who are here gathered and just a couple that are still coming, we just want to welcome all of you.
As president of St. Louis University, I extend a warm and sincere welcome to the members of the Ferguson Commission and the concerned people of the St. Louis community who've come to be part of this important meeting. I admire all who are investing their time to discuss our problems and consider solutions. The building we are in is called Il Monastero, but previously this building was known as Berea Presbyterian Church. That church was organized in 1898 as an African-American church, and in the 1960s, this church, housed in this building, hosted civil rights meetings, and its members participated in numerous civil rights demonstrations. I have been told that Dr. King spoke in this building. So it's fitting that we gather here tonight to host the Commission's meetings. I hope that the significant history of this building inspires tonight's conversation. In welcoming you to St. Louis University, I want you to know that SLU is fundamentally committed to playing an even larger role in advancing dialogue and in finding solutions. Solutions to crushing problems that exist in our community. As an example, professors from our law school, who have been very much active in working on some of these problems, are here with us tonight. I'm proud of the work in which they are engaged. Work to promote fairness in our municipal court systems, the focus of tonight's commission meeting. I commend the members of the commission for their commitment to addressing the difficult issues before us. And I want those of you in the audience to know that this university stands with you in pursuing justice, expanding opportunity, deploring violence, promoting dignity, and respecting everyone who resides in our region. Thank you again for gathering here tonight on the St. Louis University campus. I would now like to introduce SLU Vice President for Mission and Ministry, Father Paul Stark of the Society of Jesus, who will give our invocation.
Thank you, Dr. Costello. Good evening. Before we begin our meeting, let's take a brief moment of silence to pull ourselves together, to understand where and why we are, and to thank God for this opportunity to be here, to work together toward a common goal, hearing and listening and deciding with righteous thought and truthful talk, with fairness and faith in the light of our God. Let us pray. Good and loving Father God, you tell us through your prophet Isaiah, I will go before you and level the mountains. I will break in pieces the doors of bronze and cut through the bars of iron. Lord, level the mountains in our own city and in our own hearts. Break the doors of bronze that block us and cut through the bars of iron that hold us back from you. We gather before you and ask for the help you always offer us, the help you always give us, the help that always frees us to do your work with us. You know we gather for discussions and decisions, but also the actual implementation of those discussions and ideas that directly touch the lives of those we know and those we do not know, those we have yet to meet, all those we serve. Grant us open ears and hearts for your wisdom to know what to say, your compassion to say it honestly, and your openness to hear things we might not want to hear. Help us be deliberate and thoughtful in our discussions tonight. Help us in faith seek the peace that leads us to the real justice we can all seek and serve, the real peace you can give. May we speak to heal and not to hurt, with kindness and with respect for all here present. Let us be the attitude that will help us face our challenges as one body, as men and women of faith, as men and women of purpose, as men and women of peace, who, when all is said and done, you call to care for each other. Let what we say here serve all here. Send your Spirit to be with us now. Help us work for your honor and glory, for our safety and for our salvation. Gracious God, since you are the higher purpose we serve and the greater good we seek, help us seek you and serve you, now, together. Lord Jesus, help and hear our prayers for help and healing. Bless each person here, for you are our Lord forever and ever. And we make this prayer in your holy name, God of all life and God of all possibilities. And can we all say, amen.
Thank you, Father Paul, and thank you, Dr. Postello. I never come to this campus, and I certainly never listened to Father Paul pray without being inspired by the mission of this institution, which right up front says we're here for a higher purpose and a greater good. And I think that typifies why we're all here tonight and why we do this work, why the folks up here are giving their time, and why you are coming here tonight to participate. And for that, we're very grateful, and I add my words of welcome to that of my co-chair, Starsky Wilson. My name is Rich McClure. I'm one of the co-chairs, and if you will go to our website, you will find that very shortly, if it's not posted already, are the results of last week's meeting. Some of you were there. I see some faces that were in the crowd, and it was a robust, vigorous discussion. All of the work that was done in the 3 work groups on community policing and racial profiling and excessive force have been cataloged. They're out there. They're for your viewing, and they're for the viewing of anyone interested in the work of this group. In addition, the full transcript of the meeting is there as of the first meeting. So we want to commend stlpositivechange.org to you and to any members of the public to let you know that it is available to you to help participate and join in this discussion as we move forward. Tonight, we are focused on municipal court reform. And you've seen the agenda posted if you've been to the website, and you know that this was ranked as the second highest priority of the 3 priorities that were laid out in the executive order. The first one was citizen law enforcement relations, which we focused on last week. You all helped us identify those priorities at the first meeting, and in fact, you're going to have a chance to have some more input tonight as well. That's what some of these digital devices that you have are. This was the second priority, and so we are working down the priorities that you, the community, gave us. And working through them methodically to make sure we address them. So tonight's program will do that. You will hear a basic discussion of the relationship between municipal courts and the revenue, and then the revenue base of municipalities, and then you'll hear from folks who've studied this deeply and thought about it carefully. And so we're going to commend the information that will be presented here tonight. But before you see that information, we're going to ask for your input, both in the open mic as well as in community groups as well. So we invite that input, and in order to cover a few other things in our rules of engagement tonight, let me turn it over to Starsky.
Thanks, Rich. A couple of things we just wanted to note as we get into the conversation from tonight. While we started last week, we're talking about citizen law enforcement relations. We recognize that these things are connected, not siloed. So we recognize that in spaces and places, and this has been part of the discussion already, that the way we have the structures of some of our courts, we lead to a certain kind of policing. And so, in as much as we go through this conversation tonight, I'm just to invite you to be thoughtful about how these two things are connected, because when we talk about one, we're impacting the other. So the fact that they come together is quite helpful in this order that you have given us. Second thing I want to affirm and just appreciate is, again, add my voice to Rich's in saying we appreciate all the folks who are part of the conversation in the last meeting and the meeting before. When we say all, we mean all. When we say every voice, we mean every voice, whether they're those who some folks disagree with or not. We need every voice in this conversation. So on tonight, we've structured so we can get some of your voices earlier in the meeting, number one, through an open mic period. So we invite you to be a part of that. If you've not already signed up for that, where can they, then we invite you to be a part of the small group discussion. So we've totally filled out those who have signed up for that. We'll talk a little bit about process on that. I just want to share this. So for the sake of getting in as many voices as possible and honoring the fact that some folks have availability to be here earlier than others, we've tried to randomize that process. So we've provided 2/3 of our time will be focused on municipal court reform, folks who have comments on that. A third of that time will be focused on just general comments that people want to provide to the commissioners. With that being said, we also have 3 very powerful, I think, informative presentations for you tonight. So the second thing we're going to do after the open mic is lead into some small group discussions, and we invite you all to be a part of that in your respective spaces and to choose a group that you can be a part of. Same conversation in all groups, but we invite you to be a part of that conversation as well. And then finally, we'll have some time for these 3 presentations. On the board behind me, I think you can still find some, right now we have our guiding principles for the commission: transparency, equity, and fairness, and the like. But this is the one I want to focus on, ground rules, if we can keep it there for a second. We want to invite folks, I guess we can't keep it there for a second. For the sake of tonight's discussion, we want you to, y'all just playing with me now, right? We invite folks to keep an open mind to one another. There'll be folks that you agree with and folks that you disagree with. We invite you to keep an open mind in the discussions. We invite you to respect all views and opinions, particularly in this space. I've told folks that this has to be a protected space of innovation and engagement. So when I say protected, that doesn't mean we're guarding anybody from anybody else. That means no matter how the community outside this space operates, in this space, we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to speak and engage. The third thing, if we can click back, is to ask questions and share insights, experiences, and expertise, and to share airtime. So asking questions for the sake of getting clarity about people's perspective before we make judgments about what that perspective is. And so we invite you to do that as we engage in small groups. We commit to do that as we inquire as commissioners as well. All those things being said, I want to turn over the mic to our facilitator and leader in our discussions on tonight, Ms. Rebecca Bennett from Emerging Wisdom, who has provided us expert facilitation in the last couple of meetings, and will do so, I'm sure, again tonight.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Mic 11. Are we on? Okay, I'm going to switch with you. All right, so this is a wonderful opportunity to be with you now. I've seen many of you on a number of occasions, and I'm thrilled and delighted to be with you. We are going to begin by doing keypad polling. So everybody should have what appears to be a garage door opener. It is not that, right? It will not open your garage. It will not change the channels on your television, so please do not leave with it, right? But it will allow us to do a quick sort of demographic survey of who's in the room. So is there anyone in the audience who needs a keypad who does not have one? Okay, if our team can come to you, keep your hands up high, please, because they are moving in and about the audience.
You know how to set your exposure here.
I know, it's bad. I was noticing that. It's pretty bad.
I wonder even if you'll be able to see it after the live stream is going.
Yeah.
Because it's picking up all that highlight up there and everything like that. So it's underexposing the rest of that stuff.
All right, very good. So everyone who wants a keypad has one. So what we're going to do is we're going to practice. This is a test question, right? On that keypad, you have numbers and or letters, right? And when you see the answer that most closely approximates your own response, push that letter and it will register your vote. You'll notice when it's time, right now in that upper right-hand corner, it says polling closed. When it says polling open, then you will be able to vote. It'll give you a timer so you know how much time you have to enter into your vote. If you put the wrong letter, right, and you want to change your mind, simply enter another letter. It will only record your last response. It'll only record your last response. So, Jessica, are we ready? Polling is open. So what is the color of the car that you travel in most frequently? A red, can you go back? A red, B blue, C black, D white, E gray or silver, F brown or bronze, G green, H maroon, or I other. We had 150 responses, or 160 responses. Okay, so the majority of you ride in a gray or silver vehicle followed by a white one. All right, so this was our practice. Every other question now will be focused really on the content that we need to get from you. So, in what geographic area is your primary home or residence located? Right, are you A, St. Louis City, B, St. Louis County, C, St. Charles County, D, Jefferson County, E, Franklin County, F, St. Clair County, G, Madison County, H, Monroe County, or I, other?
Polling is now open.
Polling is open.
There we go. Sorry, guys.
All right, so overwhelmingly, you all are St. Louis City and St. Louis County residents. Very good, let us continue. In what geographic area do you primarily work? We ask you to also select one. Again, the same options: A, St. Louis City, B, St. Louis County, C, St. Charles County, D, Jefferson County, E, Franklin County, F, St. Clair County, G, Madison County, H, Monroe County, or I, other. Polling is now open. With 160 votes in, overwhelmingly you work in the city, followed by St. Louis County and other. Let us continue. Gender. With which gender do you identify? Please select one. A, female. B, male. C, other, or D, decline. Polling is now open. All right, so we are almost pretty evenly split, actually, between female and male, although most of you are women. Let's continue. How would you describe your race? Please select one. A, white. B, black or African American. C, Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin. D, Asian. E, American Indian or Alaskan Native. F, Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander. G, other, or H, decline. Polling is now open. So 86 of you identified as white, 61 of you identified as Black or African American, and the remainder was spread amongst the other ethnicities, races and ethnicities. Let us continue. Last question. In what age group do you belong? Please select one and be truthful. I am not 21 and under. A, 21 and under. B, 22 to 34. C, 35 to 44. D, 45 to 54. E, 55 to 64. F, 65 and over. Or G, decline. Polling is open. All right, we got the largest number of votes here with 170 votes in. We are pretty evenly spread, largely between 22 to 34. That's our largest age group. And we are pretty evenly spread between 35 to 65. So, very good. All right, so. Close up, Jim. Here we go. Okay, so someone's going to come around and collect the keypad polling devices from you so that we make sure that we do have them, and we're now about to switch into our public input presentation.
More interesting than that.
These commissions are.
There could have been a number of questions you could ask. More interesting than that basic sort of
What's up?
I said there could have been a number of questions you could ask. More interesting than that. I mean, you just got and going, and then you took all the key bets.
All right, we're done. Like,
No, this could be interesting.
can use this person to vote on some, or not to vote, but to get a poll for some of these issues. Yeah.
I'd ask a question where which people are thinking about it.
We have got a number of seats in front. So for those of you who are standing, if you would like to have a seat, please come join us. We do not bite. We ready?
Did you buy your camera yet?
Okay, wonderful. So you all will no doubt know that after each one of our meetings, we always give you back the public input that we heard during our process. We had two opportunities primarily for public input at the last meeting. The first was a public open mic session, which we will also have tonight. The second was small group discussions, and there were 3 of them. We asked you to give us your feedback and thoughts on use of force, racial profiling, and community policing. So I'm going to give you a synopsis of what came out, or a summary of what came out of what you shared with us last Monday. So in the public open mic comments, there were 4 buckets of comments that we received, and those were the largest themes. So we heard about educational disparity, and we heard that schools in St. Louis are segregated. We heard that the Black community needs more control over local schools. We heard about Von Derek Myers, obviously because of where we were and the immediacy of the issue. So we heard a special prosecutor is needed and the existing system is not impartial. With regard to law enforcement, that was the 3rd bucket that we got comments on. We heard that police need more and better training, right? And we heard that there's a need for greater police accountability. And then we got a sort of catch-all, which is a miscellaneous bucket, where we heard about the need for court reform, which will be the topic for tonight's discussion. We heard that the crises that we're going through really showed racism in our community and systemic injustice, and we heard that the public needed more time to speak. So you will notice that we have gone from 15 minutes last time for public open mic to 25, and then our community discussions, which will be another 45. Okay, let us continue. We then had 3 small group discussions, right? And we asked a couple of questions, and the questions were really similar. With regard to use of force, we said, describe to us what excessive use of force is, and then tell us what you think we should do about it, the police, the community. When it came to racial profiling, we said, tell us the impacts of racial profiling in our community, and tell us what you think we should do about it. And then when it came to community policing, we said, tell us your community policing concerns, and then tell us how we can improve community policing. And your responses were as such. Let us continue. So, with regard to use of force, when we asked you to describe what excessive use of force is, you said it is biased and preconceived, it is fear-based, ego-based, punishing, excessive, and disrespectful, right? With regard to bias, you said, minority, members of the minority community, mentally ill, LGBT are treated harshly, protesters were tear gassed and treated harshly. You said it's fear-based, so residents fear the police fear residents or the community. You said it's ego-based, you were concerned about a cowboy mentality. You said it's punishing, that if you've been victims, if they've had past arrests and things that are outstanding are often also punished. You said it's excessive, so very aggressive and reactive. And then you said it's disrespectful, so oftentimes it is accompanied by belittling behavior. Let us continue. When we said, well, how should we improve it? How should our community improve it? How should our law enforcement improve it? You said with regard to police practices, you gave us 4 buckets. Perhaps holding officers more accountable, withholding salaries until a review has been completed and decisions have been made. Using special investigators for police-related shootings was also something you suggested. Community practices, you said we should treat officers the way we want to be treated. And you said we need to build better relationships with the police through our programs. We talked about stronger and better legal aid and defense for those who need it. And we talked about really making sure that departments that receive military equipment also train officers in de-escalation tactics or ways that we can go ahead, and cultural competency, right? So those are the kinds of things we heard. When it came to racial profiling, you said it's a widespread practice, it has economic impacts, it's a community issue and not just a policing issue, and that it really promotes racism. And what did we hear? We heard widespread practice. There are lots of different ways people can be stopped, traffic stops, pedestrian stops, that blacks are stopped and searched and arrested more often, but they aren't necessarily found to have contraband more often, right? So we heard in economic impacts, people don't have the money to pay fines and fees, and that the failure to pay often leads to a vicious cycle, right? So it's continuing police enforcement around that. Community issues, you said our police don't spontaneously generate. That is, they don't birth themselves. They live in a community that has biases and conditioning, right? And so we have to be mindful of that, and that the media feeds into that quite often and then promotes racism. We heard that when blacks are treated more as criminal and dangerous, it reinforces public perception that they're criminal and dangerous. So those were the kinds of themes that came out. Let us continue. In terms of recommended improvements, you gave us 5 buckets of improvements. You said we need to improve police practices, so more police meetings with the community and seeking consent. You said we needed to limit economic hardships, so stop fining people for minor offenses. You said we need to increase police screening and training to the extent that we could do anti-racist training and cultural awareness or sensitivity and communication training. That was all useful. We need to enforce Missouri's profiling laws, so we hold departments accountable not just for having the policies, but for enforcing them. And then you talked about addressing community bias, how we take responsibility for our own personal bias, how it shows up, and how we hold the media accountable for bias reporting. Let us continue. Last area was community policing issue highlights. So we said, tell us about community policing, and you say it in 3 big buckets. Oftentimes, the experience of policing is disrespectful and aggressive. So there's harassment and stereotyping. Police training, trainers may also have bias, so we need to be mindful of that, and we got a series of comments around that. And then internal police practices, that racism exists not only in individual police, but it also exists within departments and police associations. So we need to be mindful about those things as well. Last thing, in terms of improvements, you gave us 5 buckets of improvements. So you said we've got to strengthen citizen and police connections, improve youth-police interactions, enhance officer training, reform police practices, and increase community policing funding. So we asked you about strengthening practice. You said establish civilian review boards, introduce police volunteer coordinators. With regard to youth, let's partner, have police partner, deepen their partnerships with youth-focused organizations. In terms of officer training, anti-racism screening, cultural competency or cultural sensitivity training. With regard to reforming police practices, you talked about wearing video cameras that have an audio component. And then in terms of increasing community policing funding, you said, hey, let's spend more money on relationships and improving relationships and not necessarily on equipment. So those were the highlights that came out of the 3 small group discussions that we had last week. Again, after today, once you break into your small groups and once we hear the public comments during the open mic, we will also record those and note those. This presentation and the reports that go with it, as well as the ones from the very first meeting, are on the website. You'll be able to download them or access them if you'd like to use them or refer to them. So I want to thank you for our time, and we're going to jump into the public open mic.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lorna Godwin, and I'm going to lead you through the open mic process. As Reverend Wilson said at the beginning, each time we are taking input on our meetings and trying to refine them so they get better and better as we go along. One of the things we heard is that some people can't come early to sign up for open mic. So what we did this time, and many of you probably saw that when you came in, is that we had 2 fish bowls. One, if you want to comment about municipal courts, and the other if you want to give general comments. We have 25 minutes for open mic this time. You will come up to the podium. You will have 2 minutes, as you did the last time, and I have a timer here to keep you accountable for your time. And I'll pick each one, and then we'll do about 8 minutes of open comments, and then we'll break out into the breakout groups where you can also give your input. But this is for people who desire to speak to the whole group. Okay, so we're going to start with municipal courts. And let's see. If you put your name in both, you'll only be able to speak for one. Erica Mazzotti. Erica Mazzotti. Okay. Please state your name and spell it so our transcriptionist can get it, and I'll start the timer here for you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Erica Mazzotti, and I'm a 3rd-year law school student at SLU School of Law and a senior legal intern for the Civil Litigation Clinic. Back in September, I spoke twice before the Ferguson City Council because our clinic represents clients in Ferguson before the municipal court, as well as hundreds of clients throughout the St. Louis municipal court system. On those 2 occasions, we called for true amnesty, and Ferguson said no. Ferguson did little to start that healing process that the community needs. And tonight, we renew our call for amnesty, not just a warrant forgiveness program. Granting true amnesty would be a step to help heal the wrongs of the past. Wrongs like illegal fees, wrongs like warrants issued with no regard for a person's circumstances, wrongs like failing to provide attorneys to defendants. True amnesty is a pardon for the underlying offense, not just canceling of a warrant. We call on you and ask you to call on all St. Louis municipal courts to take that step of granting true amnesty for all nonviolent underlying cases. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Dan Hyatt. Is Dan here? State your name and spell it, and you'll have 2 minutes as well.
Hello, my name is Dan Hyatt. That's D-A-N. Last name H-Y-A-T-T. I moved to St. Louis 5 years ago from the state of California, who has its faults, but they have integrity in their police and their courts. And I got into the North County courts and I saw nothing but injustice. The blacks call it just us because there is no justice in St. Louis. The attorneys call it North County justice because they know it's corrupt, but they have to go along with the status quo. I have sat here, I've watched judges, I can sit here and watch case after case after case. I read the law. Case after case where the judge just violates the constitutional rights, Missouri Supreme Court rules and Missouri law. We have an appeals court that tells the judges that if your ordinance conflicts with state law, the ordinance is invalid and unenforceable and you have no jurisdiction. And the next week, every municipal court in St. Louis is ignoring the appeals court ruling. We had, I think, 3 in November that said that. One spoke of illegal enrichment. The cities have been doing illegal enrichment, which is corruption with the cooperation of the courts and the police. The question is are they members of the community supporting the community, or are they targeting the community and using and abusing the community? I actually spent 3 hours in jail for following the Missouri Supreme Court's Rule 19.1. The Missouri Supreme Court rules are the superior rules in all courts in Missouri. Judge Brockmeyer of Breckenridge Hills felt that that deserved 3 hours in jail. Time's up? Okay. And when they're doing that to white people, and I watch them doing it to black people times 10, something has to be done. And 50 years ago, they told us what to do, and it hasn't happened. Thank you.
Thank you. Ruth Meyer. Okay, Ruth Meyer, R-U-T-H-M-E-Y-E-R. I'd like to speak on what is not being talked about for the municipality courts. Emerson Electric decided to build a $1 million facility, and the city of Ferguson cut a deal, and they get to pay not one single cent to 30 years. I think that has a major impact on how money is collected in Ferguson and others, because now they don't have this resource, and as a result, they then have other ways to get the money. Thank you. John Davidson.
My name is John Davidson. I'm going to speak very briefly this evening. In addition to being a lawyer, I'm also a macro and urban economist. I started in 2008 studying with the aid of the University of Michigan Department of Economics what's wrong in Missouri, which is coincidentally what's also the problem in Michigan. This evening I want to only speak to one particular part that is covered in a lot of the materials that I have, and I'm going to be speaking more when we talk about the overall economic situation. But the prime driver of all of the problems in North County is that the state of Missouri takes St. Louis's revenue and spends it out state. We've tried to do an estimate of that, and we estimate that it's $500 million a year or more. As a consequence, your local municipalities have to engage in conduct that was just described about what the deal was done for Emerson. It continues without end. And if the commission wants to be serious about trying to do something, while it's nice to talk about the fines and so forth being unjust, as Alexander Hamilton said, and I was talking to Tom Peters about coming here tonight to speak with you all, Tom said, tell them it's about the money and it's about taxes. And until this conversation becomes about taxes and about the fact that in Missouri we can only raise taxes through legislation passed by voter initiative under the Hancock Amendment, we're not going anywhere. So I'll stop my remarks there. I would direct you that there's one particular paper that I referenced that is prepared by the University of Michigan. I have the cover sheet and the entire paper. If you want to dig into the literature, it is principally about the impact of federal taxes. You will find out that federal income taxes also do not flow to the state of Missouri, here through to the regional area here, and as a result, we have an underperforming economy also because of the impact of federal income taxes. But there's not anything we can do about that, but the same thing is true about the income sales taxes and so forth in the state. Thank you all for your time. Some of you all have my email address, and I will be speaking a lot more. Thank you.
Someone wrote here municipal courts. I don't think that's the name of someone. Samuel Dedman, Dr. Samuel Dedman.
I really
hate that I'm here talking because I'm so angry at what's happening to our hostile state toward minority economic development. And I'm on a professional level, and it's not only happening to the cops, but it's happening on a professional level. Our rogue attorney general has put 2 minority charities serving its community out of business for racial reasons. They played the race card. Check out my website, seniorcaredentistry.org or STL, seniorcaredentistry, STL.org. And someone can contact me, but I'm too angry to speak to the crowd, and I would like to warn the crowd to be careful, because my experiences with the AG office has been all the help that I've tried to give has been turned around and used against me. Thank you.
We'll take one more and then we'll go to general comments. Dion Amir Brandy. Dion? Is that you? Oh, you don't want to speak? What? Hold on. I'll pick one more and then we'll go. Derek Laney.
Good evening. My name is Derek Laney, D-E-R-E-K-L-A-N-E-Y. I am a community organizer with Missouri's Organizer for Reform and Empowerment, and we have been working on the municipal court system and reforming it because, as many people have testified already, it is a system that simply does not work for many, many, many people. Recently in the news, there's a story of how Ferguson finds itself in a situation where they spent lots of money tear gassing and shooting rubber bullets and terrorizing citizens expressing their First Amendment rights, and now they find themselves in a shortfall, and their answer is to raise fines and fees and give more people tickets. That is beyond unjust. I have no words for how horrible that is. We've been working on reforming the municipal court system and changing all of that, and one of the things that I'm here to highlight is an alternative, an idea to think outside of the box of what is traditionally thought of. That if someone has an infraction of a municipal ordinance, you give them a fine and then you throw them in jail. We say that many people are law-abiding, hardworking, well-intentioned folks and just simply don't have the money to pay these fines and fees that are applied to them unjustly, and that we should consider that in how we operate. And one of the suggestions we have is an alternative to that is not just giving them community services, because most often they are not given the opportunity to even do community service. But what we're looking at is a situation, a system called time banking. Time banking is a network of people who have talents and they use their time and they share it among themselves, where you can get services provided for yourself in a non-monetized way. And we suggest that time banking can be used in the municipal court system so that when people are not able to pay the fines and fees that are associated with the ordinance that they break, that they can use time banking to share their time and talents with their community, enrich the community, and avoid being penalized and jailed and being put in a prison for not having enough money. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take 4 general comments now, and then we'll break out into our small groups. Tina Kramer. I'll call you once or twice, and then I'm pulling the next name. Okay. Is that? Are you Tina? Okay, great. Because when you signed in, and we are, just because you don't get to speak up here, we're going to break out into small groups. The commissioners will be in those groups, and you'll be able to share your experiences there as well. So there is more opportunity. Because we had prioritized, according to the first meeting, we had prioritized these topics. Municipal courts was the second highest priority, and that's what we're focusing mainly on tonight. Go ahead.
Okay, hello, I'm Tina Kramer. I spoke with a few of the commissioners last week. I spoke with Brittany, I spoke with Felicia, I spoke with Starsky. And I'm with the brother in the back. Why is it that we were not allowed to address Chief Dodson? He consistently lied. He was on a PR campaign. The questions that were asked by the commission, he did not answer, and he wasn't required to. We are here because we want answers. We're not here to listen to you speak. We've heard all the statistics. We've been a part of these statistics. Felicia sat in a meeting with me. It was a One Ferguson meeting. She said over and over, stop reinventing the wheel. One STL was just completed about a year ago. It is a comprehensive evaluation of all the problems that we have here. Now that we have those statistics, we need solutions. So my question to you all is, what are you really gonna do? How long is it gonna take you? Because you only got till September 15th, 2015. So you don't have long. So when are we gonna stop wasting our time talking about the things we have always talked about and start getting down to the nitty gritty and doing what we gotta do? Am I gonna get an answer, or are we just gonna look at it?
That means they'll take up too much time talking.
Y'all have a good night.
So, just for the record, I want to make sure this don't come out of anybody else's time. But Tina, no, I appreciate you coming to both meetings. I appreciate you sharing on the night and raising the question of urgency, quite frankly. So I wasn't a part of the One STL process. I have seen the thick book that was created from that process. And I recognize and own that it's creating dust on a lot of shelves, including mine, quite frankly. I think part of the difference this time is the urgency of this moment, the kind of energy that's in the community that wasn't around that process. I sat on the board of one of the organizations that did community engagement around that process, so I'm not with clean hands on it. But I will say that there's an urgency that we got to engage, that we have to continue to show people about what's going on right now, continue to hear people's voices, and you saying it at mics like this and doing it in small groups like the ones that we're doing will create a different moment than was around that process. And quite frankly, there weren't these kind of cameras around that process to hold it accountable to people who get elected in this community. So we're going to take advantage of that moment, and we will act before September 15th of 2015 as things are ready and we start getting this process up and running right now. There are things that we need to go to the state legislature with. When they're ready, we're going to go there starting in January when the issues are ready, when we know we've got enough community input and we've studied them enough to be thoughtful about what the community has to say. Because as you said, that process is done and August 9th still happened. So we have to do it in this way as well. So this is a public conversation. So look, I'm not a politician, so I'm gonna just say it and I'll stop. This is a public meeting. Any legislator that's not at this meeting, you need to ask them why they're not here.
Amir Brandy.
Good evening. My name is Amir Brandy and I work for Smith & Associates, a law office here in the city of St. Louis. And often we find ourselves in trial, picking juries. And during the course of that, most of the people of color choose not to serve. And I'm gonna say how important that is. It's very important that you take advantage of the opportunity to sit on that jury. If you don't sit on that jury, you may be innocent and you may find yourself in a situation where you're being judged by some of the people that you find on social media. If you read the posts that maybe KMOX or Fox put on social media, read the posts and wonder where these people are. This is what we're dealing with, and we have to find a way to address the sequestering of jurors. We need to know what that process is and can we better that process, because you don't have to be guilty to be found guilty when you're dealing with a environment such as that has been presented to us. Thank you.
Going to take one more. Okay. Mr. Monroe, you want to give yours to someone else?
I'm going to give my time to somebody else.
Okay. No, we're going through the process of people who signed up, ma'am.
Oh, I mean, I can't talk first?
I've spoken in the last 2 meetings.
Yep.
I'm going to give my time to someone else.
And that goes to David Witt.
God is good. I must say that first, man. And thank you, brother, for giving up that. But I'm here.
I'm here because of you.
I'm thankful that people have been coming down to these meetings, talking about these things. They talking about the fact of the matter is we are not in Ferguson right now. And I came down here because it's like the community in which these issues need to be addressed. The people that wanted to be there, they can't get here, man. You know, we was trying to give folks the meeting place be changed. I want to know, you know, why these things are being changed. And I'm not saying that nobody is making this a big secret of where these meetings are being held at, but not enough is being done to inform the community, okay, where these meetings are held so real people can come there. I looked at the thing when they did the little thing, and it was just kind of sad to see, you know, how many of the black community is out here, and we represent more than that, you know, and that needs to be said. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm here because we got to do something about these police and just talking about it. We having these meetings. This stuff is constantly happening. You know, honestly, folks, man, that's on this panel waited too long to get involved with this. You know, we should have been going through this weeks ago when, you know, before these buildings got burnt down. The buildings got burnt down because the response time of the people in power or in position that could have did something, they drag their feet, man, you know. So a lot of this stuff that happened, man, you guys got to look at yourselves and the other people that represent, you know, these politicians or whoever they are. Man, they got to look at their hands and see the blood, man, and all that stuff that's on their hands, you know. And I represent the people that's out here. So we need to talk about that.
Thank you. We are now going to break out into small groups. We're going to discuss these same issues. Okay, we're doing 4 groups, and Jessica's going to explain to you the different groups where you need to go.
Good evening. We're going to try to do this in an orderly fashion. We actually have 4 breakout rooms. There are 3 across the hall from where you registered, and there's 1 right here. So what I'm going to do is ask the back section right now to get up and then move over to the other side and just select one of those 3 rounds that has an easel in front of it.
That made no sense.
Okay, Adrienne will take this first group with her.
And then there are 2 questions that will be addressed in these breakout groups. What concerns do you have with our region's municipal court system? And the other one is, what reforms would you suggest to improve our region's municipal court system? Okay? You can self-select where you want to go.
For real. Now, answer come to these meetings, and y'all still take on the beach all the time. Every time we try to sit here and be peaceful, and then y'all take on the beach, you never let me about the people. You said last week, you did the same thing again this week. It ain't about the people, it's about y'all just get y'all agenda to follow instead of they down and stand out hearing the people who out there, the people who are represent. They ain't bothering y'all, they bothering them. Every time you come to the meeting, it's the exact same thing. These are all here acting the fool. They're proud. Now y'all proud because y'all not giving us the opportunity to say what we got to say.
So I want to hold on. I want you to hold on 1 second, because last week we went outside of the rules and specifically gave you an opportunity to speak. And so what we wanted to do today, since others, quite frankly, we changed the process because we had the same people speaking at every meeting. This is an ongoing process. We want to hear as many voices as we can. So what we did was we took the stuff that was at the bottom of the last meeting, the community engagement in the breakout, where everybody gets to speak, and we pushed it up in this meeting. So for the sake of everybody getting to speak and us being able to capture everyone's voices, we're asking you if you would please be a part of these small group conversations. Once the small group conversations are done, we're going to come back and report out in this room, and then we're going to hear from some people who are doing work in this area who have an opportunity to give us data on all of these issues that speak to some of our community concerns as well. And quite frankly, we need both. We need your voices and we need theirs to figure out how we get to these issues. So it's no disrespect at all. And we continue to move around. I want to address this as well. We continue to move around, and I'll just say this very clearly. Likely the worst thing that could have been done for the sake of community understanding was to call this the Ferguson Commission. So let me just say that. Because we are all clear that the issues that we deal with around the community and policing and courts affect this entire region of 2.8 million people. Including most specifically the 624,000 children. And so what we're going to try to do right now is we're going to break into groups and we're going to talk about, we're going to ask your input on these questions so that we can speak it back. Because we can't, if we took everybody's information individually, we wouldn't be able to comprehend it. Our first meeting, so what are our questions for the groups? So the questions we're gonna deal with in the groups are what concerns, if any, do you have with our region's municipal court systems? So the same thing people had an opportunity to say here, you'll have a chance to say in the small groups. The second is what reforms would you suggest to improve our region's municipal court systems? So we encourage you to answer the questions about your issues with it and offer your improvements to it in the small group. We'll come back and report all of that information back out as we capture it. So let's try to capture it. Jessica.
What are we going to do? What are our actions after we discuss this?
Okay, so this is the deal. Anthony, this is the deal. I hear you. What are we going to do is answer in the second question, improvements. What do you want us to do? And there is no consensus yet on what we should do, so the small groups are to have everybody to have a chance to answer, what do you want us to do? So if you would follow Jessica's instructions, then we can get to some of that.
We should have got Raphael, we should have got Victor Thomas, we should have got John Dupuy, so bring them to this meeting.
Okay, we already have one group over. I'd like the individuals from here back to go over on that side as well. Actually, let's start here, from here back. And you move to that side. There are three sections. We're doing. You guys gotta move out of the way because people coming in that door.
Floor planning. All right, guys, we are breaking into small group breakout
ladies and gentlemen,
sessions. Maybe not.
As soon as this group moves out, I'm taking the remainder of this aisle and
well, we'll give it just a second. It seems like some people are upset right now.
Please understand that after we have the small group sessions, we'll actually have a report out. You can hear what all four groups have stated. In addition to that, then following that, we have the presenters talking about different aspects of the municipal court system. And the commissioners, all 16 of them will be joining the groups. So it probably will be 4 in each group and they'll roam around.
All right, guys, it looks like we're breaking into small breakout sessions. I'm going to go kind of group to group and maybe do some live tweeting. I'm not going to stream that because it's going to be too difficult with the equipment. When we reconvene, I will go back live, so just be looking out for the link, and please be a good neighbor and tweet it out.
All right, the individuals from this front
your
row,
fellow people.
To here, you're going to go into the door between.
We'll see you guys in just a bit.
Right there. Yes. I'm sending you on this side. However, it looks like there's a long jam, so I've placed the folks over here. Going over to the other side. Just to reiterate, the topics are exactly the same in all 4 groups. If you have not left the room and gone to one of the breakouts, I'm going to send you across the hall.
Why is she sending people across the hall? All right, guys, I will be back in just a bit. All right, stay tuned. Follow me here, Stack is Short on Ustream to get a notification, or on Twitter, STACKIZ Short on Twitter, and you'll get a notification when we go live again. Thank you.
He's active in Ferguson. He's all about Ferguson. And he said, I don't care about this. You know, he's focused. He knows what he